Making bad photos can be good for you, but on the other hand, are there any bad photographs? Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. What I mean by bad photos? I mean those photos that you take before you actually get the keepers, and also sometimes between the keepers and maybe even after the keepers. Those might be bad photographs when we come to the definition of a good photograph, but I will tell you 7 things why those photographs are important, and usually those photographs are also very good. The first one is enhance muscle memory and technique. I call those bad photographs that you take before you get those keepers kind of warming up photographs. And that gets you into the mood of making those images, setting up the camera, setting up the mood, and, getting the muscle memory back. And maybe you have different types of cameras. You might want to take a few warming up shots with the camera that you haven't used for a long time. And that's, of course, something that I've been struggling a little bit lately because my injury in January and, almost 2 months I didn't take any photographs. So that's why I, been thinking about this matter. Now that I can go out and photograph, it's very important practice for me, and I really need to concentrate on those warming up shots too. And then the second one is builds confidence and reduces anxiety. I need to build up my confidence again because it is really hard to start after 2 months not photographing. Well, it might sound a little bit odd since I've been photographing for like 30-40 years, but still it's astonishing how much it affects my photography right now that I haven't been doing it that much, even though I enjoy it a lot. But that also is something that I'm too much into the enjoyment and not really concentrating and getting the good shots. And that's why I need to build up the confidence. And those images that I take before I start to get those really good photographs or those keepers, those are really important and really good photographs for me at the moment. And yeah, I hope this helps you too to overcome that small anxiety that you might have. And I will talk about later in the video how important it is to get that first keeper, how much that means, and how the bad photographs can lead to the keepers. And before we continue, a few words about my book that I'm writing about street photography. It's called From Snapshots to Stories. And it's not finished yet, but you can already buy it. So why would you buy a book that's not finished? Why don't you click the first link down below and check out the reasons and what it is all about. And now you can get it for 18 euros, but it will be 20 in a few days because I will be adding some more chapters to it very soon. So now it's your chance to get it with the early bird price. And then number 3, it improves your observation skills. When you start photographing like I do usually, that if I see something interesting, I just take a photograph of it. This is a method that Daido Moriyama, Japanese street photographer, uses, that he photographs everything that moves in a way. So that if I see something interesting, I just take a photograph of it. Sometimes they're just crap, sometimes they might lead up to something, which is also an important part, which I will talk a bit later. This will definitely help if you start thinking about every object that you see. It doesn't matter if it's a city or your nature or whatever you photograph. Just start to photograph everything you see, and then you will start narrowing down what you photograph, and you will get going, and at the end you will get the keepers. And then the fourth one is transition to photographic vision. Like me, I wasn't photographing for 2 months, and I needed to kind of build up the photographic vision again. And that is the warm-up shots, that I start to see things, and like the previous one, I photograph something that is interesting and I just take the photograph, and that gets me going. To build up that photographic vision and that pre-visualizing is something that we need to do with the with the warm-up shots. That helps us a lot to build up, and that also blends in with the confidence and losing the anxiety and just, gets you going. When you get the observation skills, you start building up your photographic vision. And this is also, of course, if you photograph every day, if that's possible, then these warm-up shots, of course, are not that important. But many of us have the problem that we can't photograph every day. Sometimes there might be a few weeks delay, and then we have time to go for a photo walk. It doesn't matter where it is, street, nature, whatever it is. It's hard to start, and these things will help you a lot. And number 5, which is something also that you prepare for varied conditions. You know, you kind of sense, you start taking the warm-up shot, you sense the light, the mood, the atmosphere, and everything starts to build up in your head, and you start getting better and better photographs on that particular photo walk, on photo session, or whatever you call them. It's all preparing for different types of things, and conditions is one thing. It might be something totally different, and especially if you are photographing in a place that you don't know beforehand, then this part about getting the atmosphere, getting the conditions and the light and everything, just to see how it looks and how it evolves during the day. When you think about the area, you start looking around and pre-visualizing how this would be later in the day, and all that kind of stuff is building up. And before we get into the next one, I have a question for you. What is your method of get yourself going when you go out and photograph? Do you use this warm-up method or take those bad photographs, or what do you do? And number 6 is fosters creativity. And starting with simple exercise, just photographing what you see, will build up the creativity. You might see something interesting and photograph that, and like I will tell you a little later, there might be a keeper too, the warm-up shots, you never know. And you might get an idea of a photograph. You take anything, you see a lamppost, you see an ad, you see something, you might get an idea of a shot that you will make. You pre-visualize something, and then you kind of realize that, hey, there is a shot there maybe later, or I know a similar place that I can get this type of shot better, or something like that. And it builds up, and that's also part of building up the creativity. As I said, these overlap each other and are not that simple. They all are kind of together. That builds up the pathway to the keepers. And before we get into that one, I will remind you that I do have an extra tip, like I many times have. And the 7th one is gateway to keepers. Most of these are the ones that you take before you start getting the keepers and are getting into the flow. But also, warm-up shots can be between the keepers. You get something, you get the confidence back, you're back in the business, and then you start taking photographs, and those might lead to new photographs that are keepers. So those are kind of like the gateway to keepers also. It's not only about the previous ones that I said, but it can be also something that you build up a shot. You find something interesting, and then you get a shot. It doesn't really work. You work the shot, and also those can be called warm-up shots. And those are bad photographs, most likely. But they are very important because they are the gateway to the banger shot, the keeper. Now that you've seen a lot of bad photographs that I took, what do you think about the photographs? I personally like those because, as I said, they are gateways to better photographs, and I also had a few keepers on this photo walk, or these couple of photo walks, and I'm very happy about that. And then the extra tip. Have you ever thought that all those warm-up shots can make up a great photo set? Why not make a series of those photos? Those can be really powerful photographs when they are together, because many times you have one photograph of something. It's probably nothing. But if you have 20 photographs of similar subject, similar style, similar type of photographs, that could be a set of images that can make a collection of photographs of certain things. And that's great because it can happen. If you look at the photographs of great masters, there are lots and lots of images of mundane things. But when you put all those together, that might be a great and a big set of really great photographs. And I don't think there are bad photographs. There are photographs that have a different usage. Those bad photographs that you take when you're warming up are the gateway to those keepers and bangers. And those photographs are that is the reason why those photographs are really, really important in the process of making good photographs. Without the bad ones, you don't have any good ones. So don't hesitate to start photographing anything, because that is usually the problem, that starting the photo walk is the hardest part. Once you get going and you get the flow, just start to photograph and don't feel the anxiety. Don't get down if you don't get the keepers immediately. It might take a little while. Sometimes it takes me for an hour before I get something that I'm happy with. And if I was, feeling down after 30 minutes, I would never get those keepers. So sometimes it takes patience, and that is, of course, for me also something that I need to practice. And here is a video about keepers. So keep on photographing, and thanks for watching, and bye for now.